It's been a full year eating a carnivore diet. These are the changes that I've experienced in my health. Hi everybody, my name is John. I'm 57 years old and I've mostly been eating a carnivore diet for just over a year. So in today's video, I'm going to go over a number of the major health issues that I've experienced over the last year. I'm going to make a separate video for all the minor changes that took place in the last year as well. But today I want to touch on type 2 diabetes, gas and bloating, sleep apnea, weight, arthritis, breathing issues, and also a thyroid problem that I've had, and also high blood pressure. So let's just get right into it. So first few weeks, I noticed major changes. Gas and bloating were pretty much right off the bat. Gas went away in the first few days. I no longer had to get up out of bed and run to the bathroom. And then also the bloating just pretty much went away. I've always had to sleep without my wedding ring on because my hand would get so swollen that it would be uncomfortable to the point of pain. And within 2 weeks, that was over and done with. Those were two of the main things that I noticed. For anybody thinking about a carnivore diet, one thing I have to say is in the first 2 to 4 weeks, when I had to go to the bathroom, I had to go now. So if you're thinking about this, not a pleasant topic to talk about, but something that you need to realize that in the first few weeks, I didn't want to get too far away from a bathroom, but that went away probably by week 3 or 4. I don't think it didn't last longer than that. And then within the first couple months, the first 2 months, I saw major changes. Sleep improved. I started falling asleep faster, sleeping better. My breathing started to improve. My sleep apnea, which I was diagnosed with severe sleep apnea, that started to improve. I also had a lot more energy than I usually had. And the biggest change that I had, which my doctor couldn't believe. Before carnivore, just before carnivore, a week before, I had my blood work done. And then 2 months into carnivore, I repeated all of the blood work just to see what happened. This was something that my doctor and I decided on. Before carnivore, I was pre-diabetic. 2 months into carnivore, the pre-diabetes was no more. He couldn't believe it. He was not a fan of this diet beforehand. When I told him what I was going to do, I told him that's what I'm going to do anyway. And at the end of that second appointment, he just said, I don't know how this is working, but keep doing what you're doing because it's working. So first 2 months, incredible change. From month 2 to month 6, again, just a lot of changes. Breathing continued to get better. Sleep apnea continued to get better. I really started to notice on my CPAP machine for the sleep apnea that my numbers were starting to get lower. And they just started improving quite a bit. I also noticed my blood pressure was getting better. I had been taking blood pressure medication, and every time I checked, once or twice a week, my numbers just got better. They were just getting a little bit lower. And then also a huge improvement was my arthritis. I have arthritis in my back, really bad arthritis in my neck, and also in my shoulder. And those in the first 6 months pretty much went away. The only time my arthritis would come back is when I went off of the carnivore diet and we'd have birthday cake or something like that. At that point, when I went off carnivore, it came back that night or the next day, and it was back in full force. So the first 6 months was a huge change. But then in month 6 to 10, one thing I noticed is the energy level that I had, that kind of dropped a little bit. Nothing to where it went or where it was before carnivore, but it did kind of level off just a little bit. So my energy dropped a little bit in month 6 to 10. And that's somewhat true now, but it really depends on what I eat. The more I go off carnivore, the more I notice my energy drop. So something to keep in mind. But then in month 6 to 10, I just had continued healing. I noticed that my arthritis, while it was still there when I went off carnivore, it didn't come back as quick. It would only come back after being off carnivore for several days. When we went on family vacation and I just kind of went off carnivore a bit, it'd take 2, 3, 4 days for it to come back. Like over Thanksgiving when I had some mashed potatoes and I had some salad and I think we had pumpkin pie or something like that. It came back, but again, after several days, it didn't come back right away like it did in the first 6 months. So that shows me that there was continued healing going on throughout the entire time. Once again, my blood pressure kept coming down. It kept improving while I was taking my blood pressure medication, but the numbers just kept getting better and better. The two major changes in month 6 to 10, or somewhere between month 6 and 10, I've had skin tags my entire life. They've been somewhere on my body since I was a teenager, or pretty much as long as I can remember. And somewhere in January of this year, of 2024, I realized that I didn't have my skin tags anymore. I had 3 at the time, one being right at the collar level. All of my skin tags have gone. This is the first time in my life that I can remember that I do not have skin tags that just went away on their own. I've heard about this happening. I didn't think it was going to happen for me because I know some people say they lost their skin tags within the first few months of eating carnivore. For me, it took about 10 months, but they're gone. The other issue that was major in approximately 10 months is I have a growth on my thyroid. It's benign, so it's not cancerous or anything like that, but I've had this for quite some time. And a couple of years ago when I went to my doctor, we did the ultrasound. That's when it was pretty much discovered. Then also 6 months later, went and had another ultrasound done, and it grew. So it was in the process of growing. And that 6-month follow-up was right at the time when I started eating carnivore. I wasn't given any medication. I wasn't given any instructions to change anything. I literally just started carnivore, went back in 9 months, which was the tail end of December of 2023. And I had my doctor's appointment with my oncologist in early January of this year of 2024. And the growth on my thyroid not only stopped growing, it actually shrank. And my oncologist really couldn't believe it because my blood work, he knew I was doing a carnivore diet. He wasn't a fan of this either, but he couldn't believe how good my blood work was. And then he couldn't believe that the growth that was growing started to shrink. I never expected that. I really didn't think my thyroid issue would have anything to do with the carnivore diet. Even seeing some of the videos from other people out there and them talking about that there's a link between your diet and the thyroid, I was still kind of in denial that that would even have a connection, but it was 100% real for me. These are all of my experiences throughout 0 to 10 months on carnivore. And then the last few months of carnivore, month 10, 11, and 12, were incredible. And the reason I say incredible is I haven't lost any weight since Christmas Eve. Because Christmas Eve was the last time, wasn't the last time, but is when, for the holidays, I went off carnivore. Then we had New Year's Eve. Then we had a family vacation. We had birthdays, anniversaries. We just had a bunch of special occasions. By the time it was the end of January when I went back to strict carnivore, I had put on a little bit of weight. So it wasn't that I dropped weight and had all these other last two changes, but the last few months without weight loss, the last two was my sleep apnea. For anybody who knows anything about sleep apnea, when I did my sleep study years ago, my score was 88. That's a pretty high score for sleep apnea. That's considered severe sleep apnea. Anything 30 or above is severe sleep apnea, and I had an 88. So that gives a little context of where my sleep apnea was. And as I said earlier, my sleep apnea improved throughout from day one all the way up until January. And then in January, I just noticed my CPAP machine, my scores in the morning or the numbers in the morning was 0.8, 1.2. Maybe there was a 2.2 or something in there, but for the most part, they were 1 or under, and I've never experienced that. And throughout all of the last 10 months or so, or the last year, I had lowered the pressure one or two times, I think, on the CPAP machine, and still had improved numbers. And at this point, I don't have sleep apnea. I did an experiment. I slept a few nights without the CPAP machine, and it just basically asked my wife to notice anything. Do you see any improvement? Am I still gasping for air like I used to? And what she noticed is I barely snore anymore. And when I say I used to gasp for air without the CPAP machine, I used to gasp for air every few minutes trying to just breathe while I was asleep. So this is huge. My doctor wants to wait another 6 months and then have me do another sleep study. And I agree 100%. I want to get this confirmed that I don't have sleep apnea anymore. So that will be probably July of this year. I don't sleep with my CPAP machine anymore, which also has enhanced my sleep because I don't have that hose dragging. I don't have the face mask on there that I have to worry about knocking off or it waking me up because there's a gap and you just hear the rush of air leaving the mask. Literally life-changing. The other major item that changed between month 10 and 12 is my high blood pressure. In December, I don't recommend anybody do this. Again, I'm not a doctor. This is what I decided to do for myself. But in December, my blood pressure numbers improved quite a bit. So I started taking my blood pressure medication every other day. Then several weeks later, I went every third day, every fourth day. Then I eventually went to once a week until in mid-January where I said, let me try not taking my blood pressure medication at all anymore. I haven't taken it since. And these are the last two blood pressure readings that I've taken after 2 months of not taking blood pressure medication. 123/84 with a pulse of 72. And actually the time just before that was 116/76 with a pulse of about 66. I can't read my own writing, but I think it was 66. So I don't have high blood pressure anymore. In the last few months of 1 year of carnivore, I no longer have sleep apnea, which I'll confirm in several months. And then I don't have high blood pressure anymore, and I'm not taking my blood pressure medication. What an incredible year this has been. And I know everybody wants to know about weight loss. So my weight loss for the year has been just over 65 pounds. I know there's a lot of other people out there that have had 100 plus pounds that they've lost in a year. Some people over 200 pounds in a year. But for me, it was 65. And I haven't lost weight since Christmas Eve until March 25th. March 25th was actually my 1 year anniversary on Carnivore. That's been my last year on Carnivore. Huge question. Will I continue, and what changes will I make? At this point, I have no desire to make any changes. I've settled into eating mostly a carnivore diet very well. I love this way of eating. I'm not planning any major changes. I always make minor changes along the way because this has always been about my health. My number one priority is my health and how I feel. And I've been able to confirm that with my blood tests because I've had 3 or 4 blood tests throughout this last year between my oncologist and my GP, and everything has been very good. My GP can't believe my weight loss, and he still cannot believe how my blood work looks. He was very concerned. His message to me when I told him I was going to start eating a carnivore keto diet was, I don't want you to lose weight and die of a heart attack. That hasn't happened. Diabetes, sleep apnea, weight loss, arthritis, breathing, and thyroid issues. Everything has improved to the point where it has pretty much gone away. So no changes. I will keep documenting all of my health benefits that I've received eating the carnivore diet. I hope this video helped you. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep putting these messages out there. I'm going to try to do this on a more consistent basis. I know it's been a while. God bless you. We'll see you in the next one.